Well, hello. Hopefully I can cheer you up before lunch. Today's world is as much about cities as it is about nations. And so I want to suggest to you that people who wear hats like this are perhaps mistaken in how they think the world works. Because today, cities are as important as nations. And indeed, the news this week seems to back me up. When Donald Trump pulled out of the Paris climate deal just a few days ago, dozens of mayors in US cities said they were going to implement the deal anyway. So cities were acting autonomously outside of the nation state. So cities are more important than nations. And so I guess that means I don't really need this hat. So, more than half the world's population lives in cities. And almost the majority of the world's economy is represented by about 400 cities. Most of the world's cities today, or many of the world's cities today, are more populous, they are more internationally connected, they have more economic weight, they are more diplomatically important than dozens of the world's nation states. Cities today are more transnational in their outlook and activities than nation states. They have a larger international footprint than dozens of nation states or even the nation states which they are in. So, what I want to suggest is the map you all learnt at school, the map that perhaps is on your study wall, the map of the world's nation states, is no longer that useful. And that you need to change the map in your head if you are to understand London after Brexit. Really, the image I want you to have in your heads is like a satellite image of the Earth at night. Because in images like this is Europe at night, it is the cities that stand out as the most important feature, not the nations. So that's the image I'd like you to carry in your head. And it is because, in effect, that globalization is a worldwide network of cities, that London, in a way, is already after Brexit. Okay? London is already bypassing the nation state in many ways. When the United Kingdom decided to exit the European Union, not last year, as it were, that left London in a pretty peculiar position because London is a global city and London lives off its connections to the world. London is one of the world's leading global cities, one of the world's leading, if not the leading global city, and a leading international financial centre. And so that left it in this position of being somewhere that needs to be involved in the world, somewhere that's living off its connections. But really, the thing about London is that it's its involvement in transnational urban networks, which means that in many ways, Brexit isn't as important as you might think for its future. In the referendum, almost 60% of Londoners voted for Remain. Maybe many of you here did. But soon after the referendum, there were many calls straight away for London to become a kind of independent city-state, autonomous from the rest of the United Kingdom. There were calls for so-called Londependence, for London to be a kind of Singapore on the Thames. Do you remember? There was even an online petition, do you remember? Where hundreds of thousands of people signed up for London to go it alone and to leave the UK behind. Now, superficially, that idea perhaps makes some sense. Ever since the 1970s, London has become more detached from the UK. In many ways, in the UK, but not of the UK. And that is because London, since the 1970s, with globalization, has become a city that belongs to the world. Back in the year 2000, at the turn of the millennium, this cover of Newsweek magazine really sort of captures what I'm talking about today. And in this image, the famous T-shirt, I Love New York, has been changed to I Love Nylon. And that was done to emphasize the strength of the connections between the world's two leading global cities and international financial centres. Just how tied up the two cities have become. As urban networks are on the rise, they are what globalization is about, rather than about relations between nation states. There are two main arguments that people make about London becoming independent. People who campaign for London to become independent say two things mainly. The first one is about subsidy. It's the idea that London pays more to the UK than it gets back. And that is indeed true. London pays about a fifth of gross domestic product more than it gets back from the UK. The second argument that's made is an argument about exceptionalism. It's the idea that London is somehow exceptional, that London, with its sky-high property values, its skyscrapers, its foreign billionaires, and so on and so forth, is a kind of alien country, okay, an alien world that is so different to the rest of the UK that it could be an independent city-state. But, of course, is London really going to become like Monaco, to become a kind of Singapore? Is that really going to happen? Such ideas are provocative, but exaggerated. London doesn't even have a real history of political independence. Having a mayor is a relatively recent phenomenon. Londependence, then, is perhaps something of a pipe dream. But that said, London in many ways its interests don't map onto the UK. London is different in those ways. Its interests don't necessarily map onto those of the United Kingdom. The fact of the matter is that London is at the centre of a worldwide network of cities. What I called almost 20 years ago a new metageography, the World City Network. And the truth of the matter is that London, in many ways, is already independent. Deal or no deal with the European Union, London's destiny, its future, is already, in a way, in its own hands. Okay? London needs to be confident to assert itself on the world stage as the world's leading global city. London's bypassing of the nation state is already happening. And in that sense, London is already after Brexit. The world has changed to one which is predominantly about intercity relations rather than relations between nation states. And that is why we can be more confident in London's future than perhaps we might have been led to think. London is the world's leading global city. So stay strong, London. Be confident. Thank you.